Welcome to Volume 2. The following 2 episodes have been pre-recorded in 2018 when they were supposed to come out, in 2018, but that never happened. Regardless, here they are now. I promised that the Mary episode would be coming out next, but however, due to technical difficulties, those difficulties being that I can't upload some of the audio for that episode, I'm going to give you the Kano episode instead. The Mary episode will be coming next week though. Thank you for your patience and enjoy. Alright, welcome to episode
3.
And this is Sho, certified PhD doctorate in Kano Shuuya lore.
I really shouldn't have this. Like, I have not read... I still haven't finished novel 8. I'm so bad at keeping on track. I'm like, ooh, what's this new thing?
I think you got like the main gist though. You got to get most of it covered down. So you good.
I re-skimmed through some of his chapters and was like, wow, Yen Press really said gay rights, but yeah.
Alright.
Somewhat of a...
What attracted you to Kano besides the songs, the edge, the invertible jacket, the works?
It's funny, actually, Kano wasn't originally my favorite character. My favorite character when I first got into the series was Konoha, and then by association Haruka, and then by association also Sairu, and then, so I got into Kagerou when I was in freshman year of high school, and then around sophomore year, I got back into it. Like, I dropped it for a couple months, and then I was like, oh, actually, I still really like this. And when I got back into the series, the first thing that I did was start, really, really going through the novels, because, before I was just like, oh, yeah, these are the chapters recommended on the guide on Tumblr, rest in pieces. And then, yeah, when reading novel 5, I was like, oh geez, that's me. But not in a kin way, because I want to fuck Kenjiro, but in a something about how he really projected a different image of himself, and then was torn up about that on the inside, but then really couldn't do anything about that and continued to project that image of himself, really spoke to me. And I was like, oh, this is it, I guess. I guess he's my big favorite now. Sorry, nice. Konoha. I barely think about Konoha anymore. No! I really abandoned him.
Oh my god. You left behind your baby boy.
I traded Twinks. I was like, here, take this back. I want this one.
You went from albino to blonde. You're getting one shake across the hair spectrum. Alright.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I mean, I understand, but damn, Chief. Damn.
Right.
Yeah, so kind of, it wasn't you said, it wasn't necessarily kin, but I was a sad nut. It was
sad
too
nut.
Real. Sad nut hours. But
I think that's a lot of his charm, we know that twinks with tragic backstories get really popular in a lot of anime fandoms, in general.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, to me, I feel it's more important to not to care about his tragic backstory the most, and then focus more on the more positive aspects of his character, because as the story goes on, and I mostly talk about the novels because that's what I'm most familiar with, and then the songs are their own thing, and then the manga's a fucking hot mess, and the anime is a hot mess in its own way, so I'm mainly talking about the novels here, but he his growth as a character coincides a lot with the novel's plot. The turning point in the novels where they're like, oh, we're gonna go beat Sayuru, which did not happen. But when they decided they were going to stand up against Sayuru, that was triggered by Kano's breakdown with Seto, and then opening up and having to face forward with the rest of his peers.
Mm-hmm. The Chad move, the growth.
Chad move. The growth.
He grows from twink to twunk.
He went from Insel to Chad in one chapter.
Oh man. Well, maybe not so drastic, but you know.
Maybe not one chapter. Several timelines.
It's like a chameleon changing colors very slowly. He went from Humphrey to Melvin. Like, just like that.
Yeah.
I'm so proud. But right. I guess you're right. A lot of people do mainly focus on his I guess angst in a sense, because I mean his songs literally, oh man,
it's literally just I fucking hate myself, the song,
except with jazz.
Except with jazz. I hate myself with sexy saxophone in the background.
It's true. I mean, it's a bop, I will admit.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll have another song potentially in the future?
Yeah, hopefully. I feel like Jin, with moving on to his next step of the project, which is adulthood, I'm not sure how much or how far he'll delve into that because I am not Jin himself, but with like Shiso Word and Remind Blue and Lost Day Hour, I feel like there's a chance for a lot of the Mechadon to get songs that show who they are as adults. Like real and true adults, and not like Jin said recently in an email, interview. He said recently in an interview that Summertime Record was from the point of view of someone who had like just become an adult, so like someone who like just graduated from high school, just turned 18, you know, technically not just turned 18 for Haruka, but like still, you know, that like fresh late teens stepping into adulthood, looking back on your childhood. And then Remind Blue is the feeling of being like an adult, like a working class citizen looking back on your past. Yeah, so he did mention that parts of Remind Blue do fit Kano, and I think some of them do, but like because everything about Remind Blue is still pretty damn hazy, I'm like, I'm not gonna take 100% word on everything, but I'm jumping around a lot here. But yeah, I do think Kano should get another song, especially since Yobanashi Deceive is a lot about his character at the start, and I really would like to see a song about the character he becomes towards the end of the series.
Right. I mean, would you entertain the possibility of, like, I don't know, when we think of adult songs, we think of, like, okay, now that they've, like, dealt with the trauma of their past and, like, gone through it, maybe potentially, I don't know, had a session or two of therapy, talked it out with their bros, had to charge their crystals.
Oh, I don't like that one. But keep going.
I'm just wondering if we'll see maybe a song where maybe they didn't exactly deal with their emotional trauma in the best way. Like, instead of character development, we have character regression. Do you think that's a possibility with Kano, or?
Depends, because with the songs, they're not so much their own route as they're like glimpses into multiple routes.
True.
And we don't know about the adult route. We don't know if that's like the real and true, they defeated Sayuru, this is officially their happy ending, they're moving on route, or if it's a case of Jin being like, haha, psych, you thought they were safe, but actually they're gonna die again, but this time they're adults.
Great.
Which would suck. I would kick down airplane door, hop on a plane, fly to Japan, and beat his ass myself.
Beat in his cardboard box himself. It's like, JK, Jin, I love you, please. Please.
Jin, I'm gonna bully you.
Please.
With where Kano was going at the end of the novels, I don't think that he would regress as an adult. And with the adult talkers conversation on Mecha Talkers, I don't know if that one has been translated yet. But basically, there's a Talkers episode where Mary's phone fucks up, and then like she gets transported to the future or some Doraemon shit. And she's like, she enters the chat room and is like, everybody, what's going on? And then, like, this dude with a shady-looking icon comes in and is like, holy fuck, it's Mary! And it's obviously Kano, because who else would have a shady icon? And, so Kano's like, oh, here's where everybody's at now, but it was all, like, a joke, you know? Like, Shintaro became a monk, and, like, NA became a virtual YouTuber, and Kano was homeless and was living in a box.
Oh my god.
So basically, he became Jin.
Real seeds,
but
real.
at the end of the talkers, like, other people log back into the chat and they're like, oh wow, I can't believe Mary was telling the truth. And then it ends with, like, someone, I think Kano, was like, oh, let's all meet up again and, like, drink together for old time's sake. So, like, I feel like no matter what future the Mechadon will head into, I do believe that Jin wants it to be a hopeful one. So I don't think that regression for people's adults' life will happen. Aside from maybe, like, Ayano, whose newest song was just
depression.
Yeah.
I wonder if Jin's ever gonna tie that up, or if he's just gonna be like, okay, she's sad now.
She's back. She's back in the Lost Day Hour manga, so like, and she's back in the end of the anime. So like, he wants her back for when they move on. Like, she's not gonna be trapped in the haze forever. But like, from what we see of her post that, she doesn't have that like bitterness that she has in additional memory. So there's a couple steps we're missing there, but you know, hopefully Jin will go back on those. Hopefully.
And hopefully it's not just like in the past where when you say that you're fine, but you're not really fine. But yeah. If you'd like, we can start on the questions provided to us. Even though 50% of them came from like Flower and Maddie, you know, thank you very much, guys.
That is totally valid, and thank you both so much for letting me blab.
Of course, it's the Kano episode where we have the most questions. It's so good.
I was like, oh man, that's a lot of questions. I should write down some notes to get prepared, and it's 5 fucking pages.
Really?
Yeah, it's 5 fucking pages of single-spaced Comic Sans on Microsoft Word.
You really use Comic Sans, you mad
I did.
Is it true that you write a lot easier with Comic Sans?
Not really. Not for me, but I feel like it would work for different people.
You know? That's valid.
It's all about finding the font for you.
Comic Sans, please.
Nope.
Anyhow, Mad starts us off with, what are your favorite things about Kano?
Okay. You wanna go first?
Sure. I feel like you probably have like a paragraph.
I've been talking the most here, so like I want to make sure that you get to say things too.
So basically, I'm Monkey. Usually it's totes fine that you talk the most, because again, you know more about Kano than I do. I'm just like here to be like, wow. Also, I miss Ayano. Anyway, continue. Like, that sort of thing. But I guess my favorite thing about Kano, besides,
being Ayano.
Yeah,
Your favorite thing about Kano is that he brings back Ayano.
Lama!
Okay.
I find probably his relationship with Ayano, it's so fascinating to me, and incredibly unhealthy that I'm like, that shit good! It's really interesting to me, and very tragic, because, you know, I'm a slut for Ayano, so anything involving her, I'm like, If I had a least favorite thing, it'd be how hard it is to draw his hair without a fucking reference.
God.
Jesus Christ. I remember I tried to draw him without looking at a picture, and it's impossible. What I drew is not Kano, and it will never be Kano.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sham. But anyway, about you, Sho, what's your favorite thing about Kano?
I touched on this a little bit before, but I really enjoyed the whole like gap between what he projects as himself and then what is actually going on inside. But I think it goes in a little like deeper than that. There's like what he says, what he thinks he says, and then what he actually does, you know?
Right.
So I think it's really interesting because Kano himself is like, oh, I suck. I don't understand myself. Why am I doing this? I'm the fucking worst. But like, and then like in his actions, he's like sort of jokingly pushing people away or seriously pushing them away with like Shintaro. But his like biggest motivation in everything is just really to protect his family and make sure that they're okay and that he never has to see anybody he loves die in front of him again, and then it happens again and again and again.
Feels bad.
Yeah, I really like that he's actually a caring character, but has one, a really hierarchical system of caring. So he's like, these are my bitches, I care about these hoes, but if anybody threatens them, I will kill everybody in this room and then myself. And then I like how he doesn't understand himself, and I like how we have to kind of like dig into like his actions. Like it's like a puzzle. A puzzle of bullshit. A Matryoshka doll of worms.
I'm so...
a can of worms, but it's a Matryoshka doll.
Oh my god. A Mobius strip, but it's just shit. It's so beautiful.
A Mobius shit.
A Mobius shit. There we go. You're such a genius. Oh my god. I feel like we kind of already answered question number 2. Which is...
How do you think Kano's past influences how he acts / his actions?
Yeah, but we can attempt to go over it.
Yeah, I have a little more to add to that, because, yeah, I think... I think by past, if we're talking about before he was adopted by his Tateyama family, there was a whole lot of stuff going on during the time he was with his mom that just instilled all these unhealthy behaviors into him that are just continued to grow and develop as he moved on with his life, and he never really got closure on it, and I don't think he still has gotten closure on it. So two big things. One, there's his whole idea of don't cause trouble for other people. I think that's how it's translated, but it's like the whole idea of like whatever problems you're having, internalize it to yourself and make sure that people who aren't affected by this don't see it and don't deal with it. So like in the beginning of novel 5, where there's that whole flashback where Takane's like, oh my god, fucking Haruka did this again, fucking Haruka, and Kano's having to like force girl talk with her. He thinks to himself, he's like, oh, don't cause trouble for other people. This is the first thing that I learned, and I don't think he said it was the first thing he learned, but it's like, this is the most important thing that I learned. So and then we see how when Ayano says, hey Kano, I need you to pretend to be me for a hot minute so I can make sure dad doesn't kill all of us, he's like, okay, and she's like, don't tell anyone, and he's like, okay, and then he doesn't tell anyone, and then she dies, and then Sayru's like, hey, you're gonna be my little bitch now. I couldn't think of anything else there, I apologize. But Sayru was basically like, hey, you're gonna work for me now, and then if you don't, your family's gonna fucking die, and it's gonna be all your fault. And Kano's like, okay.
God.
And then he doesn't tell anybody about it, because he just internalizes everything, and just, it makes things go a lot worse than it should. But I don't think it's entirely his fault, because again, it's a way of thinking that was instilled deeply into him and then only fortified, and I don't think fortified was the right word to do there, but you get my point.
Yes.
He never got the chance to break out of that habit until Seto's like, I can literally read your mind, you stupid bitch. and reads Kano's mind, and Kano's like, yep, that's everything. That's all my bullshit. And Seto's like, okay, let's fucking deal with it.
Wow.
And then they die.
Great!
So that's one thing. And then the other thing, this is... Okay, I know I was like, oh man, we shouldn't focus too much on Kano's tragedy, but I think one of my favorite aspects of his character is this whole idea where he takes a person, puts them on a pedestal, and then is like, this person can literally not come down from this pedestal ever. So it started with his mom, where his mom was like the perfect person in his life, and she was the only thing that mattered, and anything he did to upset her was all his fault. Anything that was done, and basically his abuse, he thought was his fault because he thought so highly of his mother. And like, his mother was literally his entire world.
Right.
And he never got closure on that. So, I think he still blames himself for his mom's death too, is that he couldn't protect her from the robber. And like, bitch, you were literally 7 at the time. But like, he was like, oh, I couldn't stop this grown ass man from stabbing me and my mom. I'm the literal worst. But again, he can't, and he doesn't get closure on that. And then suddenly, he's tossed around between relatives, and then he's brought to this orphanage, and he meets some cool kids, and then he gets adopted into this very nice family, and there's Ayano, who he had previously met before, and then he falls into the whole, oh, you're the only person in my life that fucking matters, you're my only hoe, you're the only one that matters, anybody that wrongs you is wrong mindset again with Ayano. I can't really not understand, but I don't have a lot of like backing as to why it became Ayano. But I think part of that, this is just speculation, I think part of why Ayano became the replacement for his mother is that, one, Ayano, he met Ayano during a time when his mother was still alive. Right. So he's got this, maybe not apparent, but there's at least some inkling of a connection between Ayano and his mom. And then 2 is that he was a lot closer and spent a lot more time with her than he did with like Ayaka. And then 3, she was an older figure in his life, and that's why he doesn't do the same sort of thing for Seto and Kido, because he sees them as peers rather than someone to look up to. So Ayano was someone that he looked up to, spent a lot of time with, and in a sense reminded him of his mom, and that's why he latched onto her. Basically, he imprinted on her like a baby bird.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's something really interesting, and it puts a lot of his actions into perspective. Where am I going with this?
You're on a good tangent.
Yeah.
It was good. And it probably answered some future questions, because, I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the gist of it is that, like, he had... Basically, rundown for question 2, he had a lot of problems in his childhood, never got those addressed, and then those continued to affect him, and still continue to affect him as a current character.
And before anything could be done about it, before he could actually, like, do anything about his unhealthy relationships with these characters and everything, he's just always robbed of that opportunity to get closure. Like, his mom dies and he's 7. Right at the very end, Ayano dies right before his eyes, and he can't process that without right away being like, okay, Seru, just please don't hurt me for me, please. So
yeah.
He never has that opportunity to deal with it until Seto always... I feel like no matter what medium, Seto always has to be like, mind powers, bitch. And Kano's like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Cool.
Yeah, because I feel like without that, Kano wouldn't be able to open up, you know?
Honestly, yeah. You have to pry that out of him because of how used to he is to, internalize. So I'm not even sure if there's, like, a more peaceful way to go about it because he's so used to internalizing things. Is there really...
Yeah.
Like, can he even talk about it?
Yeah, I don't think within the scope of Kagerou Project without the powers. I mean, like, for one, the plot wouldn't fucking exist without the powers. But, like, without the instance of a mind-reading ability, I don't think Kano ever could have developed enough as a character and a person to go and reveal these things about Saru and his manipulation of him to someone on his own.
Yeah.
It has to be forced out of him.
And I think that also says a lot about Seto, because we all know he hates using his power, like, hates it more than anything, so for him to do that, just to make sure his bro is okay, I feel like that speaks a lot. They're good. They're good
it's
brothers,
really good.
Chief.
They're good brothers.
They're good, Chief!
They're good. It's good. That's
good.
like... It's a good scene. In both the novels and the anime.
It's true! Everyone's like, man, good shit. So, moving on to Flower's question. What are your feelings about the various ways Kano has been portrayed in the various formats? Do you have a favorite? How do you think he could have been more properly presented and shown as a character?
So, obviously I've been talking mostly about novel Kano, so here's where I guess I can go a little into manga Kano. First things first though, the best Kano is Talker's Kano, because the Talker's version of the Mechadon is the best, like, let's be real. That's where they're all happy and just, like, fucking around. Now onto serious things. I think manga Kano is really interesting. I totally butchered that word. I think manga Kano is really interesting because novel Kano's personality and character is so shaped by his relationship to Ayano and how much he is affected by that and how much of his actions are controlled by his connection to Ayano, that in the manga route where that's effectively gone, because one, he isn't being manipulated by Saru, two, Ayano isn't the most important person in his life, he starts developing into somewhere else, and I think novel Kano really explores, like, these are Kano's flaws as a human person. This is what's holding him back, while manga Kano goes into, this is what Kano could be, because manga Kano is, like, the most forthright and caring version of Kano that we have seen. He's, like, he obviously is still, like, cares a lot about the people within his hierarchy and will threaten anything that threatens the hierarchy, with how, like, he was, like, ready to throw down with the 12-year-old when he met up with Hiyori, but then Hiyori turned out to not have killed Kido, and he was immediately like, oh shit, my bad, and then he made the connection that Shintaro and Momo were in danger, people who he really didn't need a reason to, he really could have just let them die. Like, it would have been a, like, shitty move and all, but, like, he had no connection to them, and he had no obligation to warn them, but he did so anyway. So, like, you see that and then now in, like, more recent chapters, he's playing the decoy, like, he's a more heroic version of himself, right. Which I think is funny and interesting because it's in the route where he doesn't have that connection to Ayano, whose whole thing is heroes,
right,
and heroism. Yeah.
Which, yeah, that's very ironic. In all honesty, the one where Ayano is considered the worst is potentially where the rest of the siblings are given an opportunity to, like, not rely on her so much and grow as their own person.
Except for Kido, who's been dead for 4 years.
Yeah. Kido didn't deserve that. Kido really didn't. So, man, poor Kido. Oh my god, I forgot about that. That just came back to me. Oh my god.
Sometimes Kagerou writing is good, and then other times a character's been dead for 4 years.
Yeah. Damn, that shit bad.
It's just really funny to me, we're getting off topic now, but it's just really funny to me how Route M has really only taken place over like a week, and it's been 4 years, because we spent like a whole year in real life time getting updates, watching Takane sad wank about the hospital again.
It's been a week? It feels... Oh my god.
It's been like about a week in the manga, I feel like, right? Maybe 2 weeks, but that's a stretch.
It's aged me by 4 years, in all honesty. Christ. Dang.
Yeah.
But, alright. So, in the route where... sorry, you were saying?
No, sorry, keep going.
Oh, I was just thinking that, do you think it's because Kano has more time to deal with his emotions and thoughts towards his mom without, projecting them onto another person, Ayano, and being forced in a position where he has to essentially pick up the emotional slack for the loss of his sister with his, again, mind-reading, good-meaning brother that he was able to be, a kinder person?
I think part of it might be because when his, Mary was introduced, so here we have a third younger sibling, so now there's, an overwhelming majority of smaller people he had to care for, despite being the shortest. And then, when he makes that decision to protect Mary with the rest of his siblings instead of siding with Ayano, it helps, there's something I'm looking for here. It helps put his priorities in check, and it makes him... He's like Sasuke. He's a protector, not an avenger.
Oh my god.
And I fucking hate that I said that. But that's kind of what his whole dilemma in the novels was. He's like, I want to avenge Ayano, but I can't because I need to protect my siblings. And so he pisses on Shintaro and tries to have his cake and eat it. And it doesn't work.
So, in the manga, that really clears it up for him. No confusion, because clearly protect Familia, and Ayano is kind of alienated from that, because,
yeah.
Mary, don't hurt Mary. Oh, she gonna hurt Mary. Okay, bye. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then I think
says it was 1 day until very recently where there was a time skip in the.
Oh god, are you fucking kidding me?
Jesus.
1 day, 4 years.
Every time I see those descriptions, like Shintaro Kisaragi is about to have a bad day, I forget that's literally it. It's usually just a day or two. Oh my god.
Man.
Anime took place over 2 days. Lama.
To be fair, the novel took a couple days at least.
Christ. The anime, 2 days. 1 day. Till recently. Okay. These are fast. They don't feel fast. At all, but, it really be like that. I feel like you were about to bring up a point, and then I interrupted you. I'm sorry. There was one more thing in Flower's question. It was, how do you think he could be most properly presented and shown as a character? And I'm gonna definitely say that the novels are the best way, I feel like, for any character, because the manga doesn't let you hear their thoughts. And there's definitely aspects of visual medium that display better parts of the character more, but Kagerou's manga doesn't really go into the whole metaphorical visual medium aspect, and is more of a straight this is what this character looks like in this scene, and you don't really you don't really get into the inner depths of the character. So the novels, which go directly into those characters' point of view, and you can quite literally hear their thoughts, are the best way to get an understanding of who that character actually is. Gotcha. So, everyone, please read the novels if you can. Please. It'll change you. It'll make you appreciate everyone more. You'll be woke.
Honestly, yeah. Second best is the songs, because again, it's from their perspective. And yeah, if another anime came out, I do hope that it plays more with the meta stuff it was kind of going for in like the first episode of the anime where Yaki was like, Shintaro, and he was like, shut up, I'm brooding. But like the whole like scene with like the gears and just them standing in the void, I think you get a better grasp on like
the mood, the atmosphere.
The mood and the atmosphere than you do in the scenes where they're just like, this is us shouting because we're surprised.
Wow.
Not to say that's a bad thing. It's just that there's a whole lot more you can do with visual mediums than just show, because it should be because the manga's pictures are very tell, not show. I think. And then it needs to be more show, not tell.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see. Even if the new anime sucks, I'm still gonna watch it though.
I'm still gonna watch it though. So yeah, I'm still gonna support it.
Yeah, everyone watching Makake City Actors like, oh my god, this sucks. We're still gonna watch it.
Everybody watching In a Daze like, oh my god, this sucks, but we're still watching it.
We're still gonna watch it though, yeah. We will cry and embrace this if we have to. We just need more material. But yeah, I'm excited for In a Daze, which takes place within a day, or rather, like, an hour, but you know?
In a Daze is awful. It's a mess, and I love it.
I look forward to it. Some people have already watched it since, the Kagerou 24, shout out, great translator, just joined the server, a good time, translated it and added English subtitles, so, we owe them our lives. But right.
Haha, fucking plebeians have to read to understand.
God, please.
Okay.
English is not my first language, but it's my only language for now. But alright, let's go to the meaty question, if you'd like to read it.
Oh boy. Do you think Kano is often misinterpreted? So, considering how half the fandom thinks he wants to fuck his sister, yeah. In all honestly though, I think he's less misinterpreted and more people will pick up more on different aspects of him and focus on that more. So like some people will be like, oh, Kano just is like sad all the time and like he's sad, and it's like, yeah, he is sad. And then other people will be like, oh, but he's actually like kind of like this easygoing, easy to talk to fellow. And then yeah, that's true too. That's another aspect of his personality, and I think you can kind of tell a lot about a person depending on how they interpret Kano. I don't think it's misinterpretations, rather than like depending on your experiences, this is how you experience this character. So I don't think there's any like wrong interpretation for him unless you're like pulling like complete shit out of your ass. The sister fucking. But yeah, I think I'm biased. I haven't interacted very much with Western fandom, and I focus more in Japanese fandom, and even in then, I am in very niche circles.
Valid.
From what I see, I think the people that I watch, because I don't interact with anybody, I just watch them. The people that I watch on social media that talk about Kano, I feel like they have a very good grasp on his character, and I rarely see anyone say something that makes me have to get up from my laptop and take a walk outside because it pisses me off, and then I remember that there's more to life than how people feel about a twink. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think that's about it.
I think that also applies to characters like Shintaro. They're pretty blatant, but people like to focus more on certain aspects of him than others.
Right.
So yeah, it's not really more of, it's like focusing on one thing rather than delivering the whole picture. But you know, characters are complicated. They're complicated.
Right. And for some people to different aspects of a character will appeal to different people. So like some people really like edgy Shintaro a lot more than they like shitty, can't talk to people Shintaro. So,
yeah.
It depends. So everybody is valid unless you want them to fuck their sister. Then they're not valid.
Cancelled.
Cancelled.
Kano-stan, no. Cancelled.
Cancelled.
Speaking of the Kagerou Pro 24, they themselves asked a question, being, thoughts on the scene from the third novel where Kano turns into Ayano to mentally torment Shintaro? Parentheses. I think it's a good scene that shows the conflict between Kano and Shintaro well. Reading the part right when he turns into Ayano is always so spooky to read. How did Kano manage to keep his composure when disguised? Close parentheses.
Absolutely, one of my favorite scenes. The mood and tonal shift is so fun, cause like when Shintaro calls Kano out, like, oh, Momo doesn't call me that, you're like, oh, haha, funny prank, and then Kano's like, die, bitch, and it comes. I don't remember. I don't remember if novel 3 came out before Yobanashi Deceived did, so I don't know if this scene came out before we knew who Kano was inside, where the only thing we knew about him was that he was that, like, easygoing kind of prankster dude. And I feel like it was a really good scene in establishing that, like, that's not all to him. He can be very malicious. Oh fuck, it's Kano Pro.
God fucking damn it.
Where was I?
Sorry,
yeah.
Derailed.
No, you're good. It was a good meme. It was a good scene in establishing, one, that Kano's character was not all that he seemed. Two, it was really good in establishing Shintaro's trauma, because I can't also remember if novel 3 came out before the album that had Tomei Answer on it came out. So you're an Ayano stan, you might know this better, but this might have been one of the first instances where we saw Ayano? ?
Again, like you, I don't exactly know when the third novel came out chronologically, but I would assume that it shows a lot more of the potential angst between these three. Like, it shows, like, there's more to these three than meets the eye. Oh man.
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely something.
Yeah. I don't think we even knew at this point that that Kano was related to Ayano. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah. This dropped before Ayano's Theory of Happiness. I know that for a fact.
So everyone's like, oh shit.
So everyone was like, oh shit, why is Kano an anime girl and why is Shintaro fucked over by that? So
yeah. Dang, oh my gosh. I still can't imagine being a poor old fan and trying to put all the dots together. Like, you know that meme with, like, Charlie from Always Sunny, like, with a wall connect? That's my god. Can you imagine?
Still me talking about fucking Kage Pro meta.
It's true, that's us explaining the ending of Makaku City Actors. Like, goddamn. It's so good.
Man.
It's fun, but, like, can you imagine, like, putting all your time and trying to figure it out and just getting it completely wrong? Like, Jin's like, never mind. Man.
You're like, I think I've got this, and Jin's like, new installment into Kage Pro, and it just, like, completely destroys that theory.
Jesus Christ. I can't imagine. That's why I'm kind of scared now to, like, theorize or, like, put a lot of, like, meta out there, because he's recently...
Watch us all be completely wrong.
Yeah, and then I'm like, yes.
I don't think that's a bad thing, though. I think it's still fun.
Yeah, and just, like, you know, if it's wrong, I'll be like, today I will delete my podcast. I don't know. We'll see.
What could have been.
But, Jin, please don't do me dirty. I mean, you do what you want, but, like, you know, like, maybe don't hurt my
do us
feelings
dirty.
that way, you know. Yeah. But now...
What are your thoughts on the scene?
On the scene?
On the scene. The Kano turns into Ayano scene.
One, it's Ayano, so, you know, I'm already nutting. But, again, the tonal shift caught me completely off guard. I mean, I knew it was gonna happen. Like, I heard about it. Like, oh man, things get so real in the third novel. Oh shit. But I didn't expect it to be that real. Like, you know, like, there was that kind of tonal shift when he turned into Haruka in front of in the anime, and everyone was like, "What the fuck?" So this is me doing that again, going, "What the fuck?" Maybe that's like a consistent thing, like within all the timelines. Kano's gonna pull a dirty one on you, and you'll be like, "Oh my god,
oh my dirty."
But like, damn, that shit bad.
Right.
Yeah, man, people freaked out over that. But with, like, no knowledge of, like, his relationship to Ayano, or, like, what goes on between these three, I can only imagine, like, how people were when they read that for the first time, when it came out.
Right,
like,
just, like,
oh,
freaked
shit.
out. And then it goes into, like, Shintaro's nightmare, where Ayano's like, "Aren't you having fun, even though that you killed me?" Or, like, something like that. Like, I can only imagine people being like, "What the fuck?"
Surprise, bitch. Thought you saw the last of me.
Yep.
Flower just said, one of my friends has been in the fandom since Artificial Enemy, and apparently when Konoha's State of the World came out, people thought Ayano at the end was Hiyori. Just like Kenjiro and Hibiya!
They weren't far off. Hiyori's like a mini Ayaka, so...
Yeah, imagine.
And Ayano's like a mini Ayaka, so...
Man. I mean, it's true, I guess, in a sense, but like, damn. Can you imagine if that were real? Ayano and her father. No, don't do that.
No, let's stop that train of thought there.
I'm gonna stop.
Moving on. Oh yeah, one more thing. I don't know if this was framed as a rhetorical question or not, but as to how Kano managed to keep his composure when disguised. Well, we learned this later, but we know now that Kano's very, very used to being in Ayano's form. So he's used to having to, like, manipulate his way around using her form. And then, you know, he had to be her corpse for probably several hours. So if he can live through that, I think he can maintain his composure when pretending to be anything pertaining to Ayano.
True. That so fucks me up.
Yeah.
Like, damn. Hot damn.
Yep.
Flower continued saying, the friend mentioned that people thought that meant Hiyori got out and grew up and Hibiya was dead forever, but we learned it's usually vice versa.
It's usually vice versa.
Man. Feels bad, man.
If only Hiyori was out of the haze.
Feels bad. But here's the next question, I feel like, is probably your shit.
What do you think about Kano's progression to eventually forgiving Shintaro and recognizing him as a person? And I said, in all caps, I am absolutely 100% biased in saying that this is my favorite part of Kagerou. And, like, it is. My favorite part of Kagerou Project. Trying to shorten it and say the long thing at the same time. My favorite part of Kagerou Project is all about how it's making connections with other people and then being empowered by your connections with other people, and how not having a connection with people causes bad things to happen, to put it lightly. But like, if you think about it, lore-wise, everything in Kagerou happened because Tsukihiko banged Azami.
Right.
And then, like, there's all these, like, other connections going on where it's like Seto reaches out to Mary and that brings Mary to her friends and that lets Mary grow up and become a stronger person, actually become a person. Momo reaches out to Hibiya and helps him recover from, like, losing Hiyori, and then on the reverse side, we have Shintaro not reaching out to Ayano, leading to Ayano not saying anything. Not that she probably would say anything if he reached out, but regardless.
Right.
If he didn't reach out to her and then she died and that causes him to become a shut-in. There's the fan-made PV for Jinzou Enemy where, not even just fan-made wise, NA being there for Shintaro is eventually what leads him to be able to go outside again. Mm-hmm. It's all about connections, and so then we have this relationship where Kano doesn't want to reach out to Shintaro, and you know, Shintaro's kind of like, I don't know who the fuck this guy is, but like Kano refuses to make a connection with Shintaro, and that causes conflict, and it's really, really fucking juicy.
The tea is hot.
And so having this build up to Kano eventually oh my god, my voice. Kano eventually reaching out to Shintaro and being able to make that connection is, again, it's what gets the plot really heading towards the finale in the novels. And it's not the same for the anime, because in the anime it's Kano reaching out to Seto, and in the manga it's Ene dying. But so where am I going with this now? Going back to their whole like problems at the beginning, it's very nice because Kano is effectively part of the reason why Shintaro locked himself in with the whole "it's all your fault" scene, right?
Right.
So we have this like whole like it's like a shoujo manga love triangle, but if everybody was screaming and pointing knives at each other.
Yes.
Where like where Shintaro pushed away Ayano until she died, and then Kano in her form pushed Shintaro away, and that led Shintaro to think that everything was his fault, and then he falls. I mean, he was already depressed, but he falls into a worse depression after that. And then Kano himself is still like wallowing in, same as Shintaro, wallowing in this memory of Ayano and not being able to move on from that. And I think when Kano is able to open up to Shintaro and move on from that, and then conversely when Shintaro forgives him despite everything, I think it really shows like the peak of their growth as people. What was it? 'Cause like when Shintaro and Kano reconcile, which is a weird word to use because they were never fighting in the first place, it was very one-sided. But when Kano and Shintaro reconcile, there's the scene where Shintaro's like laughing and Kano's like, "Oh, that makes me nostalgic," and he touches on a memory about how he doesn't think that Ayano ever noticed, but Shintaro had this like different smile for Ayano than he did for the other people around him, and Kano just couldn't stomach that. He couldn't handle Shintaro actually being nice to Ayano and not just mean all the time, and was really cold to Shintaro whenever he was at school. And then despite all the things that Kano did to Shintaro, Shintaro was still able to forgive him and then smile at him like that. And Kano was just like blown away, and he's like, Shintaro is the kindest person in the world. And it goes to show, like, it puts some things into perspective, because we're all like, oh, Shintaro was fucking awful to Ayano during Tomei Answer days, and like, like he was, but also what we see of that is it's all like Shintaro's memories of him being like, I was awful, I was the worst to Ayano, and then we get this other perspective where we know that he wasn't the absolute worst to her all the time. And we don't get that until Kano is like, Shintaro really wasn't the guy who was in the wrong this whole time, because he was good to her. And it's just like this whole unraveling of narrative perspectives and character growth, and I just fucking, that's my jam. I could talk about this on and on and on and on, but I'm gonna cut myself off here because I can tell that I'm gonna keep going on if I'm left to my own devices.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's real good.
It's real good.
It is. I don't know how Jin pulled that off, but he did. He really did.
He did that.
He didn't have to, but he did. For us.
He did it for us.
He did it for the gays.
Yeah, Yempress said gay rights. I actually, I talked about that, that scene where Kano's like, oh, Shintaro's smiling back to me like that, and I was trying to find that scene in, I own all the Japanese novels on Bookwalker, and I was trying to find that, and so I messaged a friend of mine who I knew owned the physical copies of all the English translations, and was like, hey, what page is this on, or like, around where does this happen in the novel, because turns out that because of the way that Japanese and English novels are formatted, the English novels are a lot like thinner, but like things that'll happen on like page 60 or something in the English novels will happen on like page 100 in the Japanese novel because of the spacing.
Right.
But I digress. I messaged a friend of mine and I said, hey, could you find where this scene is? And while she was looking for it, she was like, this isn't the scene you're looking for, but it seems right up your alley, so here it is. And the quote in the English version is, let me find that.
Enter elevator music.
Found it.
Cool.
The quote is, oh great, I was trying to hold it back, but now even I was grinning. Shintaro's such a hoot. I love him. That's the English version, but in the Japanese version, Kano says, Shintaro's like, he's so funny, he's the best. But Yen Press was like, fuck, he's the best. You love him now. So that happened. Yen Press said, gay rights. Thank you, Jin. Thank you, Yen Press. Let's move on. Unless you have anything to add.
No, you kind of covered everything. Yeah, the good stuff. What do you think makes Kano most appealing as a character? We all know he's an absolute douche canoe, yet there's a certain appeal and charm that he holds over us no matter what. Do you think you can explain the phenomenon?
You got anything off the top of your head?
Hot twink. Edge.
Yeah.
No matter what you say about it, there is appeal behind the edgy twink with a banger of a song and a cool hoodie that you can't escape from.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at a certain level, some aspect of Kano's popularity comes from the fact that he is an attractive anime boy with a sad backstory. But if we think positively and go into like goody good stuff, putting it in Sax terms, people, myself included, originally thought that he was like a douche canoe. But you know, the like guy that you really can't count on in an emergency because he's too busy fucking around. But then like all the stuff about him started coming out, and there's this whole like gap between the initial character we were presented and what the character actually was. And I think that's definitely what drew me into him, and I feel like that's a lot of why a lot of other people were drawn into him. And it's just really nice having a really well, I will say, I do think Kano is very well written. He's a well written, multifaceted, layered character, and I think any character that's written will have a lot of appeal. So.
Right. There's, of course, like we said, the initial appeal, but there is a lot more to it. It's not all flash and edge. Jin's backed it up. There's some good, meaty stuff down there. Right,
definitely. He's not just skin and bones. He's even not a bare bones character.
Is physically.
Because he's a twig.
It's true.
No, there's definitely aspects of, there's a lot of like popular fan-based characters who I don't think, this is not Kagerou, but there's definitely a lot of popular fan-based characters that I think shouldn't deserve that popularity simply because there's not a lot behind them aside from the fact that, hello, I am skinny pretty boy with some sad parts to my character sometimes, haha, love me, and then everybody is like, oh my god, it's so unique,
baby boy.
This is the only thing I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, no, Kano actually has some really interesting aspects to him, which
is good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jin. Very cool.
Jin really nailed the head on the characters, and I do think a lot of characters are more underdeveloped than others. Like we can tell, Kano gets a lot, and I think part of that is also because Kano gained a lot of traction in the fandom, and Jin was like, well, shit, gotta feed the fans. But yeah, I do think he really hit the nail on the head when it comes to characters and character dynamics. Those are all very, very good.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Now, Maddie provided another wonderful question. Thank you, Maddie.
Leave them alone.
These questions are fueling this podcast.
Yes. Jin recently said in an interview that as an adult, he thinks Kano would find a job where he would be recognized for being caring. What kind of job do you think he means by this, / what kind of future occupation do you envision for him and why? So when I was thinking caring, the first thing that came to mind was doctor, and I was like, he is not smart enough for that, is he? Funniest thing to me about Kagerou, not the funniest, but like one of the funniest things to me is how we don't know like shit about the Mecha Trio's like education level.
Lamau.
like
homeschool gay. Not even.
And if they were homeschooled, like how would that work? How would Kano still be able to get away with pretending to be Ayano at school, and how would Ayano be able to snoop around the house if Kano was and the rest of the Mecha Trio were homeschooled? Which it's just like a glaring plot hole that we all just decided not to address because, hey, cool, pretending to be Ayano. But I think caring to me implies that it's going to be some kind of career that I think would be something where he works personally with people and it's in a way that will better their lives. So like the people you go to when you're in a crisis and the people that you know you can count on. Before Jin started going into actual adulthood, my initial headcanon for Kano's adulthood was a government official who would work on issues having to do with like child protective services and orphanages and a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, like an advocate.
Gotcha.
For children's needs. So I don't know if Jin will actually put a politician character into his works. Yeah, I think and I hope that whatever career Kano gets, he gets to help people, because at the end of the day, that's kind of what he actually wants to do.
Right.
Yeah. How about you? Any caring careers come to mind?
Ironically, the first thing that came to mind was like a therapist, because he can't even talk about his own feelings. But I feel like it'd be easy for him to call out bullshit in other people, you know? Like...
Right.
Anyways, deep-seated childhood trauma, and then his client will be like, "Oh shit, you're right.
He got me."
No. I mean...
Sometimes,
yeah.
the people who understand you the most are the ones who went through the same thing. So yeah, I can definitely see like therapists.
Yeah, I can see it. But like also just ironically in a sense. It'd be really good irony, just saying. But there's a lot of there's a lot of caring jobs out there that he could potentially take up. But yeah, right, like what you said, him prioritizing like others, maybe children who don't have the opportunity or the means to protect themselves, or just protecting people. Anything but a bodyguard. Yeah, that sounds good.
Kano can't be a police officer because he's too much of a twink.
That, and like I can see him doing like petty crime too much, like like, you know, like general theft, like not even like anything big, just like, oh man, this kid was sad and I'm hella broke. Candy bar time. Like, I don't know. You know, like, I don't know.
If Kano were a police officer, he'd be the one vine that's like, "Officer, this is a crime scene. What, is this the murder weapon?"
God, that
Here's
is
a bunch
true.
of ice cream. Get off my dick!
Oh my god. It's true. It's true. I can't believe you wrote for Jin. You're the ghostwriter of Jin, actually. That's why Kano's one of the most well-written characters, as well as
Jin,
Shinto.
hire me!
Please. Show's too woke. This potential going into my podcast with, now instead of 2, 3 listeners. Oh, baby.
You've got a solid 7 right now.
Yeah, for those of you who tabbed out but stayed in respect, I love you all. But yes.
Just a side thing, the garage door just opened, so my family is home, so there might be children squealing.
It's cool. It's cool. I'm just surprised they made it an hour into here.
Yeah, there's my
dog.
Hey! Come here. You know who's home. Yeah, so brief pause as I deal with children and puppy.
It's all good. Take your time.
Stop.
Dang, we made it a good hour and 5-ish minutes without any interruption. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it's a lot smoother than Rochi and I's episode, which we paused like every 10 minutes because.
Well, you had like technical difficulties, so that doesn't count.
But Discord is being mean, and Discord hurt my feelings, and I have beef. I have beef with Wumpus now.
Beef with discourse.
Wumpus? No.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just let me know when you're ready to continue. And,
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'll find
Elevator
some...
music.
Yes. Quick, what's Kano's favorite Starbucks drink?
I don't drink coffee, so I don't know.
Fuck. Wow, thanks, Flower. Very cool. Flower asked, will Kano become an alcoholic like his father? Not with his siblings.
Next
around.
question.
Oh my god! I feel like Kano would hate coffee because of its bitterness. He'd actually prefer sweet things. But if Shintaro's around, and of course he's gonna one-up that fuck, he's gonna take his coffee black, use his eye abilities, and look at him straight in the eye.
I think it's the headcanon. I don't know if it's like a popular headcanon, but I think the headcanon of Kano having like a cat's tongue where he can't stand like really hot things to the touch is really cute. So he'd have to like. So if he did drink coffee, I think he would drink like iced coffee.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like some sort of like white drink, you know? He actually gets the pink drink. It's not even coffee. It's just like coconut milk and strawberries, and it's cute. It's a cute drink.
Yeah.
Would Kano vape?
And yes, if vape was readily available in Japan.
Is it not readily available?
It's not. Vape is illegal in Japan.
Really?
I don't know. Okay, actually, I don't know if it's illegal or if it's just not sold there. But a friend of mine who vapes. Everybody at my college vapes. It's awful. I try to get to class and there's just clouds and clouds of fake strawberry scent everywhere, and I'm like, ooh, tasty smell, and it's just fucking vapors. Anyways. So a friend of mine who vapes went to Japan recently, and he had to smuggle his vape pen to Japan, because otherwise they wouldn't have let him take it. So,
So that wasn't like a transportation thing, rather than a Japan thing? Ah.
I think it's a... Well, let me check. Let me Google.
This is very important. We need to know if people can legally vape. But again, this could go with our petty crime thing. He's not doing anything bad. He's just vaping.
E-cigarettes are illegal in Japan. I don't know why they're illegal in Japan.
E-cigs are illegal in Japan.
They are illegal in Japan. Yeah.
Damn. I'm learning so much about Japan through the series. Everyone in the Mekakushi Dam isn't circumcised, and no one vapes. Like, damn. That shit.
No, I'm pretty sure there's circumcision in Japan.
Yeah, but it's like very rare. Like, they interviewed lots of people, and many of the women were like, I don't think I've seen a circumcised man in real life. I'm like, damn. God. So yeah, smegma is real. Shinto.
Okay, podcast canceled. Bye, guys.
I'm gonna edit this out. Don't worry. I'll cry myself.
No, keep it in. Oh my god. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
There goes my 3 listeners. We had a good run, guys. Thanks. Here we go. Rochi says, everyone's version of the heat haze is different when they all get swallowed up. When Kano and his mother died, what kind of form did you think the heat haze took?
Shout out to the Kagerou 24 for answering this question before I did. Because, the honest and real answer is, I don't remember. It was most likely brought up, and I just do not remember. So, the Kagerou 24 said that, it was like a dark street, and that there was, a lot of emphasis on it being at night and being a time only for adults, and Kano's stake was like, you can't be here, little boy. So So there's that. That's apparently in novel 5. If you own the translated versions of the novels and you flip through, the pages should be in all black, which I think is a really, really cool printing thing because they didn't do that in the Japanese novels.
Ooh, what if it was like a mistake and they're like, we should keep it in there, like, it fits
No,
the
because they did it on purpose in novel 3 when Shintaro's having his nightmare, and Nightmare Ayano, which might be Yaki, is like, oh, fuck you. That's apparently in black and white with white text on black paper.
That's spicy.
It is cool. It's really cool.
Kano's heat haze is just him hitting up the club.
Yeah. I went and I rewatched Yobanashi Deceive, and I think that also works. It's like a cityscape at nighttime, but also he's the only person we see in that. So, like, we don't know if it's a metaphorical city or if it's the actual city. So,
gotcha.
I just think that if anything, his haze would be at nighttime because he just has a lot of thematic tie-ins with the night. So
he's a gangster, essentially.
He's a gangster.
I mean,
yeah.
He did grow up in the city and probably spent a lot of time outside.
Yeah. That reminded me though. Do you know if Kano's often quoted having left on some like nighttime walk or whatever?
Yes.
Do you know if that's actually something he likes doing or if he's doing it like
as a means
either as like
working for Seiru,
escapism or working for Seiru?
I feel like both, because I'm sorry, Cat is in the way, but essentially I feel like he has to go out all the time because all sorts of reasons, to work with Seiru, because to protect his Mi Familia, and as a means of escapism, also it's a good way to avoid being confronted by your concerned siblings. If you just aren't there, they can't ask you questions if you're not even there.
Can't be called out by your siblings if you're not there.
Exactly. So, I don't remember where I saw that though, like, oh yeah, he loves taking night walks. But
I think it was in the novels.
Yeah, probably. More than likely.
It was mentioned in the novels.
There's so much trivia in the novels. It's so easy to miss.
Right.
But yeah, I believe that was our last question. Thank you.
There's no more questions, but Chibitalik says, while not actually a question, I would love to see you compare Ayano and Kano as characters. I feel like her influence definitely helped shape him.
Yes.
So let's go ham.
Yes. So I just want to bring up, though they're both well-meaning characters, I feel that Kano took a lot of, not just like inspiration, but like Ayano is quite at fault for the reason why it's so easy for Kano to cover all his problems with a smile, because Nei-chan did it best, you know what I mean? Like,
oh god, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Kano, people are like, oh man, Kano's always like hiding behind his mask, which is like a cool grin, but like, again, he learned from the best, and oof, that shit hurted, bro.
Right. Because I mean, like, he wasn't doing that during his time with his mom. When he was hiding his like bruises and stuff, he wouldn't like smile at the neighbors and be like, I'm fine. He was just like, I'm good. And then it was only after he met with the Tateyama family that he started picking up that whole like smile to pretend that you're fine thing that Ayano's doing.
Yeah. And man, that shit hurted.
Shit hurted, yeah.
If Ayano, I'm not sure if Ayano even knew, but if she did know, like, that would fuck her up. She'd be like, ah, shit. I mean, I feel like if Ayano was more aware of her impact on her younger sibling, she would have been more careful. But it doesn't help that she already had such low self-esteem and low self-value that she didn't think her death would, like, impact them that much, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because like at the end of Ayano's Theory of Happiness, she's like, I wonder if they're mad at me. Like, no shit,
bitch, they heartbroken.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's another way. Low self-esteem.
I think one thing that's interesting to me is additional memory. You can draw a couple parallels between that and Yobanashi Deceive with the whole like theme of not being able to say what you really mean. But like in Yobanashi Deceive, it's like I can't say what I mean because I've projected so many lies that I don't know which one's the truth anymore. While Additional Memory is I purposely hid this thing and I'm fucking pissed I never got to say it.
Right.
So, I think there's an interesting aspect there in I guess there are reasons for lying, not reasons, but like what goes on in their head
right
through their lies.
And yeah, interestingly enough, for Ayano and Kano, despite being quite the same and different, I find that Ayano has, I guess, a sort of more bitterness in her than Kano does, but I think it's because Kano and various mediums is able to like work through his frustration and his prejudices, is able to like get close to Shintaro despite everything, you know, while Ayano has just been recently like shown to be frustrated. She doesn't really have she hasn't been as well written as Kano has, so she doesn't have that opportunity to get past these hurdles. So Kano potentially will or has already, depending on like what we're talking about when we're talking about, made peace with himself, potentially, or in his circumstances. But Ayano is sort of like basically what he could have been, I assume. Like, if his growth was stunted, this is like Ayano is essentially what Kano could have been had he not had the support system or like someone to like I don't know, straight up read his mind, you know, like that kind of stuff.
Flower says this is maybe a less optimistic take on it, but I feel like Kano also has more outlets for self-harm than Ayano.
That's
and I do think, because with Kano he could hide everything with his power, but Ayano had no power to hide things with.
Yeah, and Ayano has the responsibility of caring for like 3 younger siblings. So like
Kano only has 2.
Yeah, and Ayano had this sort of like she has this image that she has to carry on for her siblings.
Yeah.
Something that she's so willing to like hide behind a smile. Like she isn't as like, I guess, isn't as able to be true to herself. Like maybe there's also the possibility that like she just like maybe straight up rejected it, saying like that she's like okay, I don't know what I'm saying. Basically, internalization is real. Yeah. So they're very fascinating. They have such a good dynamic. It's not healthy, not by a long shot.
I think also like a big difference between like their whole like different between like I'm mad and I'm confused and lost is the whole like Kano is still alive and has to process things, and then Ayano is fucking dead, so she's stuck in those memories, and those lies are the last thing she says. Yeah.
And that's so sad. Man.
Yeah, definitely.
Will Ayano get that closure? Will Ayano get the opportunities that her cool younger brother, whom if she knew what happened to him would hate herself forever?
Gonna smack Jin if she doesn't.
Please. But
we'll all fly to Japan together.
We'll find his cardboard box and we'll be like, we love you, but please consider this.
We love you, but where's the Ayano lore?
But thank you. I feel like I've got a lot more exposure to Kano as a character. I know that he is deep, not even in the ironic sense, but he really is a very well-written character. You can tell Jin put a lot of heart into him. A lot of... Oh yeah, also Ayano watched JoJo, so like that's all the lore we need. Like
that's all the lore we need. The Kagerou over.
JoJo is canon in the the Kagerou universe. You have to wonder if the Mecha Trio actually got into it as well. Like, just a thought. The Ayano universe. Yeah, she has her own meta.
Ayano universe.
But yeah.
That's essentially her haze, right?
JoJo?
No, the Ayano universe.
Yes, the Ayano universe. That's her haze.
That's her haze.
Yeah, this is completely off topic, but yeah, Kenjiro got Ayano into JoJo because her favorite character is Kakyoin, and his favorite character is Kakyoin's stand. So,
Aww,
it's so cute!
That's cute. That's adorable.
I love them. Halloween costumes. Oh my god. But yeah, before I drag on this episode for too long. Sorry about that.
No, I'm the one who did, like, literally 7/8 of the talking. You didn't drag out the episode, I did.
No, I needed that. You have the lore. You're woke. You have so much to say, and it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good. Alright, thank you very much for joining me, Sho. Thank you
Thank
to
you for
everyone
having
who joined
me.
us.
See you next days.
See you. Haha, it's been fun. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Couldn't have done this without all 7 of our listeners. Okay,
Thanks.
I'm gonna go eat now.
Alright,
Bye.
bye.